Okay, lesson 21, the curse of comparison is something that everyone struggles with, teenagers, adults, kids. We always compare, and comparison takes away our happiness and joy. Something about comparison, there's a book called The 13 Laws of Happiness, and one of them is don't compare because it takes away our happiness. It makes us just feel discontent. Social media increases comparison, which results in envy, fear of missing out, lower self-esteem, and depression because we compare ourselves to other people. Social media shows the high points, not the low points of someone. Okay, so it shows the 3-minute roller coaster ride at Silverwood, but doesn't show you stand in line for 40 minutes, 45 minutes in the hot line, and you're just not very comfortable. The more selfies you do, probably the more boring your life is. I mean, you can imagine that people plan whole days around doing selfies and taking pictures of foods. Their life is probably not that exciting and stuff. And so don't compare yourselves to the stuff on social media that you see. Okay, here's a little video on Sadie Robinson on Dancing with the Stars. I'll explain the purpose of it in just a minute.
I was disappointed. I was pretty bummed out.
You can tell you're pretty upset.
Yeah, I was upset about it.
Don't worry about the scores this week because next week is going to be awesome. So don't get yourself down.
Okay, listen to you giving me my own advice.
My most memorable year was just 2 years ago in 2012 when Duck Dynasty first started and my whole life flipped upside down. I was 14 and I didn't realize how big it was going to be. It was like a phenomenon. It was crazy. I remember the first time somebody asked for my autograph and I thought it was so cool. But there's definitely been some bad things about being on the public eye. Everybody knows who you are and they're looking for you to mess up. My grandpa said some things that upset some people and the press came after him. It was really hard to see my grandpa get attacked like that. It was a bad time and we didn't want to do the show anymore. The thing is, no matter what he would have said, we would have stuck by him because he's my grandpa. Yeah, he's very opinionated. He's my family and family sticks together.
Walk, lock, step.
I'm doing the samba this week and I hope it's kind of like a tribute to my family.
Angry duck, feathers all ruffled.
My family would not be where we are without our faith. That's what's carried us this whole way. You know, we put our faith in God and we like to share that with everybody. People are going to say things no matter what. If you're holding the football, you got to get tackled. But we're going to be a family. We're going to love each other and we're going to do what God says to do. And so that's been amazing. Do it for the family. Do it for the Robertsons.
Okay, that's Sadie Robertson, and here she is at a college conference about a year ago, about 50,000 people in Atlanta, and she's going to give about a 4-minute message here, really powerful.
So why did we get that confused? I surveyed Instagram as I was preparing for this message, and I said, what are you seeking in life? What are you seeking in life? And I doubled that as a double question. I said, and where are you searching for that in? And I was amazed at the response, thousands and thousands and thousands of response, literally, and messages and response, all kinds of things, because people really took this seriously because they hadn't stopped long enough to think about that. And what people were seeking was actually really powerful. Majority, by far, top 4, was love, happiness, peace, and purpose. Top 4 things that most people my age that follow me on Instagram said they were looking for. And I was like, well, that's pretty awesome. But here's the kicker. Where are you searching for that in? That is the response that got me. This year, as I was preparing to preach this message as well, I decided I don't want to just go up here and give fluff and not really know what y'all are going on a heart level. So I went to several college campuses and met with every sorority of the college campuses, and I asked them these similar questions. And I said, as an overview of your campus, as somebody who's very liked on campus, what do you see as the thing that people are struggling with the most? And it's interesting because we're searching for all these things, but when I was listening to what everybody on campus seemed to be struggling with, it was these things. Let me see if they sound familiar to you. It was perfectionism, mental illness, depression, anxiety, feelings of loneliness,
body image issues, eating disorders, and it was all kinds of things that they would confidently say most people on campus struggle with. I heard this and I was shocked, and I've been praying for what I could say. How do you preach to mental illness, to depression, to anxiety, to all these things? And as I'm praying for this, I come across this article by Time Magazine that says, why Instagram is the worst thing for your mental health. So I click on the article, very interested, and it's this whole article about how a group of people have presented to Instagram a request to take the like button away. That's interesting. Of all the things that social media is and has become, the one thing that these people really feel is important to take away is the like button. Well, now y'all know that's coming into play. Already 7 countries, they've removed the like button. But the reason why is so interesting. The reason why they're taking the like button away is because it is proven to have direct effect on mental illness, to cause depression, to lead to anxiety, to cause people to feel lonely and left out and FOMO, to cause comparison and eating disorders. And it was every single thing that every sorority girl told me they were dealing with. And so we might be seeking love, happiness, peace, and purpose, but my fear is we're searching for all those things right here. And I don't know if you noticed, but you can waste a lot of time searching and searching and scrolling and looking with no direction, following and liking, and not realize you're not finding anything that you're really looking for. You know, when we were little, you used to play that game, like you would hide something somewhere. Like you'd hide it right here, and you would be directing somebody how to get to that thing. And you'd be like, if they were over here, you'd be like, oh, you're kind of cold. Get a little closer. You're a little warmer, but you're still cold. You're a little warmer. Oh, you're on fire. You're on fire. You get like so stoked. I kind of feel like that right now. It's like we're sitting here with this and we're scrolling, but we're saying, oh yeah, we're seeking for love. We're seeking happiness. We're seeking peace. We're seeking purpose. And if you're holding this and you're seeking those things, I would say it's really cold. It's ice cold. You are not close right now. And if you would put it down for a second and you begin to search and say, okay, a little warmer, but if you would pick up this book, I would say you are literally on fire. You're literally on fire. You know this word, there's a promise in this word. It says, seek and you will find. You will find. Because God is love. If you're looking for love, that's who God is. Did you say you're looking for love, happiness, and peace? Let me give you something better. The top 3 fruits of the Spirit of who He is, love, joy, and peace. It's who He is. Oh, and you're seeking for purpose? What better place to find it than from where you come from and who gives you purpose. And your purpose, I think we get confused on that too. We think there's a process to get to our purpose. Once I finish college, then maybe I'll reach my purpose. Once I get to the top of my job, then maybe I'll reach that purpose. We think one day we'll just magically show up. When you find God, when you find love, you find your purpose. Your purpose is to love no matter where you are, no matter what stage you're in, no matter what age you're at, what platform you're on. If you love people and you point them to the love of God, you are fulfilling your purpose. The search. So why do we?
Okay, that's an awesome message by Sadie there about finding our purpose in life. So here's how we overcome comparison, because we all struggle with it. First, a little story. When I was in college, I had a roommate, was one of the most awesome guys ever, very positive, very outgoing, very smiles all the time, very bubbly. I'm very happy and stuff. And I'm over a serious goal-oriented person and stuff. And I was really envious of him. I thought I should be like him. He has so much joy and happiness and peace and stuff. And so I kind of really struggled with comparison and low self-esteem. And then I read this book called Spirit Controlled Temperament, and it talked about 4 different temperaments there are. And he was called the sparky sanguine, the bubbly, life of the party and stuff, and just a people magnet. But it said they're also laid off a lot of times and don't get a lot done. And I was more of a serious type, a very goal-oriented person. And I'm not the kind of guy that wants to be a greeter at Walmart or be an usher and greet people at the door at church and stuff. But I've really set a lot of goals in life, and like we built Campus Life and started FCA in Portland at Benson High School, and here in Hermiston, and again going to Umatilla here again, and Boardman, different things. But God gave me a unique personality for a reason. If I wasn't so goal-oriented and task-oriented, I wouldn't have accomplished so much, and then we've got things going. But God has a purpose for every personality, the extroverts, the introverts, the outgoing. But anyway, God can use that. But God has given you a task. Realize God made you unique for a specific purpose, a task, a course, and a race. All those words are used in the Bible, that God's given you a task, a course, and a race. And he's custom made you for your task, course, and race. Check this out in Colossians 4:17 says, be sure to finish the task you were given in the Lord's service. So God's giving you a specific task, and it might change every few years or even a few months and stuff, but you have one while you're in high school, you'll have a different one when you're in college and stuff. And your task mainly has to do with loving God and loving people and sharing with your circle of influence. So focus on and finish the task the Lord has given you, and not other people. Like you look at like a shot putter looks at a cross country runner and thinks, man, I wish I was like that person, trim and slim. They can run fast, and they're, and then the cross country looks at the shot putter and says, look, they're so big and strong. I wish I could bench press. So the shot putter feels inferior because he wants to be like the cross country runner. The cross country runner feels inferior because he wants to be strong like the shot putter. But what if they just focus on their strengths? Okay, the things that God made him to do. Okay, so we got to focus on our task. Okay, Paul considered his assignment more important than his own life. Check this out in Acts 20:24. But my life is worth nothing to me unless I use it to finish the work assigned me by the Lord Jesus Christ, the work of telling others the good news about the wonderful grace of God. So his life is worth nothing if he doesn't finish the task. You just don't want to live for yourself and fill up time and exist and stuff, but it's just finish that task. Okay, here's Craig Rochelle, a pastor of Life Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's the biggest, has the biggest church in the country, and they put out the YouVersion Bible app, and he's going to talk for about 1 minute here. I kind of want to expose you guys to different pastors, because you can listen to the best pastors in the world each week. We have access to them now. So here's Craig for 1 minute.
When the author of the Hebrews tells us this, let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Do you realize there's a race marked out for you? There's a calling for you, a purpose for you, a mission for you, a lane that you're to run in. Run the race that's marked out for you. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. What do? We run the race that's marked out for us. We run the race that's marked out for us. We stay in our lane. We fulfill our purpose. We do what we're created to do. And we keep our eyes focused on Jesus. If you ever ran track, you know what I'm talking about. The fastest way to lose the race is what? To do this. You never, ever look to the side. You just keep your eyes on the finish line. You keep your eyes on the prize. You keep your eyes on Jesus. You run with perseverance. You stay in your lane. You run your race. You don't look at what John's doing. You don't look at what anybody else doing. You just run your race. You run your race. You run your race. You can't win anybody else's race. You can never win their race. You don't have the tools to win their race. You have your own race. Paul goes on with this metaphor, and he says this,
Okay, here's that verse that Craig was talking about. God has set a race before you. Run your unique race. No one else can. Okay, in Hebrews 12:1-2, it says, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Okay. So God has put you in a race. He's putting you in a lane. Don't look at the other lanes. Don't look at the other runners. Focus on your race or your task that God has given you. That will determine your joy, success, purpose, and happiness in life. Okay, this is Michael Todd from Transformation Church. He's a good guy to follow on YouTube. He's an amazing, dynamic speaker, but he talks about our weaknesses.
Weakness is attractive. Can I prove it to you? Abraham was old. Elijah was suicidal. Joseph was abusive. Job went bankrupt. Moses had a speech impediment. Gideon was afraid. Samson was a womanizer. Rahab was a prostitute. The Samaritan woman was divorced. Noah was a drunk. Jeremiah was young. Jacob was a cheater. David was a murderer. Jonah ran from God. Naomi was a widow. Peter denied Christ 3 times. They had weakness. Martha worried about everything. Zacchaeus was short and money hungry. The disciples fell asleep while praying with Jesus. Paul was a Pharisee who persecuted Christians before coming one. And Michael was addicted to pornography, a liar, and a manipulator. God is attracted to your weakness. If anybody knows that you can still win with the weakness, you might as well give God praise right now.
Okay, God allows weaknesses, so we'll trust in God and not ourselves. God doesn't want you to have self-confidence. He wants you to have God confidence. And check out this verse in 2 Corinthians 12:9-10. Each time he said to me, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weakness so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weakness, in insults and hardships, persecutions, troubles, that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And so God allows your weaknesses so you'll trust in him. If someone's like a 10 out of 10 in their appearance, their body, their personality, their intelligence, their athletic ability, their skills, their people skills, they're probably not going to trust God, and they're not going to give God the glory. But if someone's like a 5 in their appearance, their people skills, their abilities, they're going to trust God more. And God's going to use them to do great things. Like Michael Todd just shared, all those guys had amazing weaknesses and stuff. God gave you weakness for a purpose. Look at Nick Vujicic, born without arms and legs, and he's one of the top Christian speakers in the country. He saves hundreds of thousands of people by his messages and stuff. And he says he's glad he doesn't have arms and legs. He probably wouldn't be trusting God if he was whole. The life on earth we have is just so short, the 77 years. It's like a vapor, a puff of smoke. So thank God for your weakness, because they help you depend on him. I grew up by Stanford University. We had a guy in our FCA group. His brother played baseball for Stanford. And so we got probably about 5 or 6 athletes would come from Stanford over the course of a couple of years and give their testimony. And they get into Stanford. It's an expensive private school. I mean, tuition for 1 year is $65,000. You got to be not only a straight A student, but you have to have a lot of stuff on your resume. I mean, all state in several sports, ASB president, homecoming king and stuff. Well, anyway, they'd come here and they give their testimony. One guy was a 7-foot basketball player. Another guy ended up playing the NFL for a long time. It was all testimony is the same. I was All-American. I was ASB president, homecoming king, 4.0 student. And they got to Stanford. And they said, then everyone else is like me, and people were better than me. And they started feeling inferior. So they turned to Christ. So God has a purpose in your weakness. Thank him for him, because he depended on you. You'll be better off if you're just like a 4 or 5 out of 10 in all these different areas. And you trust God, than a 10 out of 10 who just trust in themselves. So quick review and do here. God made you for your unique, specific purpose, a task, a course, and a race. Man, nothing can replace you. You're handcrafted for that purpose. Focus and finish the task the Lord has given you, not other people. Don't compare yourselves to other people's material possessions, other people's appearance and different abilities and their status and prestige. Just focus on the race God has given you. Focus is the key word. Third, Paul considered his assignment more important than his own life. Fourth, God has set a race before you. Run your unique race. No one else can. You're special. This focus is huge. God allows your weaknesses so you'll trust in him and not ourselves. And then thank God for your weaknesses and depend on God's power. There's a purpose for your weakness, and God wants to use you to make a difference in the world. And you have one life, man. Depend on God and use him. All right, take some time here to finish, fill out your journal. What did God say to you? What are some triggers that can remind you of this? What will you do? Meditate on this and take time to reflect on it. I want to really encourage you guys to spend some time over Christmas break, set some goals, evaluate your life. Let me go all the way back here to the beginning. Okay, it is Jesus's birthday, and so you want to give him the gift of time. That's the best gift you give him. And here's 5 different things you could do. Review a lesson in the booklet. It takes about 5 minutes. If you missed a lesson, it's all in the YouTube channel under the FCA class. Fill out the lesson. Take time to do it. Just about 15 minutes. Read a chapter in the day in Bible, or do a YouVersion Bible app. Watch a Christian video. Case for Christ is on Netflix. Invite some friends over to watch. You can have a great discussion. Try to listen to Christian music, at least one song a day, and reflect on the lyrics. So I'm done. You guys have a great, you don't have a Christmas vacation, you make one. Okay, it's up to you to make it. So you guys have a great day.